All right, how's everybody doing? MUSC 412 Music Marketing. Hope everybody's having us a good semester. We're doing things, getting our work done, and really learning a lot about marketing. So normally we do these things live, but unfortunately I can't be live this week on a Monday night, and Sarah is also tied up as well. So we're going to do this Adobe or this YouTube premiere where you're going to watch tonight's video and then answer a few questions just so to know that I know that you checked in. Just a couple housekeeping things. Make sure that you're staying caught up on your assignments. Make sure you get those turned in. Again, remember, it's better to turn something in than to not turn something in. And also, now is in the crunch time. If you're a little behind, reach out to me about getting things done. And versus coming to me like the last week of class and say, oh, I'm behind. Nah, you've had time. You got to get it done. So let's jump sort of right into this. So this week and next, I want you guys to think about artist branding and artist tour sponsorship. So it used to be in the old days that, artists, especially rock artists, if they were associated with any kind of product or business, it was like selling out, selling out to the man. It's like, well, who's the man? That's my sort of thing. But they just viewed that as very, rock and roll was very rock and roll. And to sell out, to a business or something like that was really kind of just, not the thing that was, but then again, everybody remembers that Bob Seger licensed his song Like a Rock to Chevy for 25 plus years, and he made a lot of money on a song that he wrote that wasn't really written for Chevy. It just fit the Chevy Silverado brand. So let's back to that word, brand. So what is an artist brand? Well, if you think about all the artists that you know right now, the ones that you love, what are the things that they associate with? Like, what is their image? What are the things it's like their likes? Why, when you think about, a real, I guess, cliche thing is like, if you think about the punk group, the Ramones, it was like denim jean jackets and Converse Chuck Taylor All-Stars. Well, right there is just two things, just in general. People that liked that style of music wore that style of clothing, and Converse probably made a lot of money, and Levi's probably made a lot of money selling those denim jackets. At the time, it wasn't branding, but now artists see the value of branding. Think about all your favorite artists, how you've seen them in commercials, how you've seen them sponsor specific products, that they dive into the lifestyle of things. Country artists, you'll see them a lot at like Cabela's, and you'll see them a lot at like the hunting and fishing supply things or trucks and pickups. Yeah, it's cliche. It sounds cliche, but the bottom line is, you know, it's the thing. It's a way to make income because we're not selling records as much anymore that generated a lot of income, but also it furthers your outreach. If you like those sort of products or you like that sort of lifestyle, you're going to be attracted to that artist. Or if you like that artist, you're probably going to be attracted to those sort of lifestyle products. And that's where branding comes in. Branding is just the image that makes the artist, right? The image that says, this is what this artist is about beyond the music. We're not even talking the music here. It's just what they're about, the different things that they do. So let's kind of jump into branding here a little bit. And all this stuff that I'm going to show you is an eCampus. Just a couple few really simple, things. Branding architecture. A lot of there's different kinds of architecture. When we talk Google, we just say Google. Well, that's called a branded house, right? A branded house is when you have one brand and all the little things fall underneath of it. All of us have used, Google Maps, Google Translate, Google this, Google that, right? It's all Google, right? They want you to stay focused on Google, 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 Google. But if you look at a place like, a house of brands where all the little sub brands more so than you probably know the owner, right? If you look here again, like Pampers, Folgers, and Tide are all owned by Procter and Gamble. Well, who's Procter and Gamble? That's not the norm, but you know what Tide is. That's how you clean your clothes, right? You know what Folgers is? It makes coffee. Well, you guys might know Starbucks a little bit more than that. But Folgers, that's probably how your grandmother makes coffee, right? Or you have a hybrid where you know the main brand, but you don't realize some of the sub brands. So if you look at that, that's like a Coca-Cola thing. like some of the water that you drink every day, like Dasani or Aquafina, look on the back. It's probably owned by Coke or Pepsi, right? And that's just a brand structure. So that's just sort of how you have to think about brands in general. And that's how businesses want to inject, their products into you to get you to focus and stay forward. Well, it's same thing works the same way for artists, right? So if we scroll down a little bit, and there's a lot of stuff in eCampus on this about how to build a brand. This is how like Rita Ora and her sister have built up her brand. But let's start going down here to like an artist deck. And Gwen Stefani is just kind of a great example. Gwen has done all kinds of, won all kinds of awards, has all these top singles as an artist, and that's great. But when you start looking down at some of the things that Gwen is about, let's go like down here. It's like, these are the products that she's most associated with, the things that are her lifestyle, right? She likes Starbucks. She's, into smart water. She's into, different cosmetic lines, right? Just in general, like sushi, like just that's not even a company. That's just a style of food. And when she can talk about those things to her fans and the people that love her music, they'll gravitate towards that, right? You sort of gravitate because you feel it's a higher connection with the artist. So as music marketers, you have to think about, what is your artist about? Not what they're just about musically, but what are they about? And they are probably about all kinds of different things, right? What fits their lane? Because if you can figure out what they're about, it's also going to help you narrow down that demographic, that key audience that you're looking for, and will allow you to be able to pitch this artist stronger to that demographic to get a better return on your investment, right? This is after the music. Yes, we love Gwen and we love this, but what is Gwen doing today? Like right now? Well, she might be drinking Starbucks. And again, 30 years ago, this wasn't a thing. Maybe even 40 years ago, this wasn't a thing. You didn't have the daily access to artists that you do now. We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have Instagram where they can say, oh, look, I'm drinking a Starbucks. Poof. That in general, like she just didn't do that because she was drinking it. She has a deal with Starbucks. They pay her money because it's good for the company to be associated. If Gwen Stefani, in our example, can tell her 10 million plus followers on her social medias that, hey, I'm drinking Starbucks today, you might go drink Starbucks. Or she says, hey, I love this new, Starbucks blend that they did. Put in Gwen loves 10 and you'll get 10% off at your next purchase. You're going to go into Starbucks and purchase that because you're going to get a coupon and they're making money, right? So that's the association. The artist benefits from the financial benefits of Starbucks by actually paying her to pitch their products. And at the same time, it creates an image of that's what she is associated with, right? So that's the thing, is how you have to think of branding. It's, the music and all the little things. Like if you watch anybody on an award show, the stuff that they're wearing, somebody's probably paid for it, for them to wear it. You've probably seen an award show that asks the question, well, what are you wearing? They want to know. People want to know. And it's places or businesses have sought out to say, please wear our dress, Gwen. So when you walk the runway, it says Gucci or Dolce & Gabbana or Stella Ford, right? Or sorry, Stella McCartney, so those are the things. Or when she just does, different commercials, that's what that's about. So branding, think of that. That's that branding. Like think of an artist that you love and think about all the things they're associated with. But as you get into music marketing and you're working with new artists, you need to think about, well, what are these new artists about? What do they like? Maybe we could go to this company and say, we've got this new artist that really is in this lifestyle. We think you should get on board, right? Or we've got this artist that is perfect for your brand, right? Perfect for this. They do this. This is like in your lane. We just, why don't you just make a small investment right now? It'll benefit everybody because remember, they're paying the artist. So I hope all that makes sense to start. Think about those sort of things. Let's take a look at another person down here. Meghan Trainor, right? Look at, these are old social media numbers. I know it's above that, but let's go down here to like her branding. Look, it's much different from Gwen. She's a little more, I don't want to say like where Gwen sort of has like a little bit of a high sheen of things, Meghan Trainor's like Target, Pepsi, right? I mean, just those two things. Those are everyday products that everybody can enjoy. So maybe Meghan Trainor's attitude is she's a little more middle class, where Gwen thinks maybe she's a little higher class, right? But you see there's some common elements here, especially between the two females. You got the cosmetics line, you have the dresses, right? Look, even over here, she's into vitamin water where Gwen was into, smart water. It's water. It's probably, this vitamin water is probably sold by Pepsi, right? More than likely, those are, and it looks like two different things. So again, this is the image that Meghan is putting out beyond her music. So again, that's the key when you're in this music marketing lane, is to really think about, what is this artist about? How can we create this lifestyle? How can we create this brand, this image that appeals to this demographic? And what is that demographic? Some of this all sometimes sound cliche, especially when I talk about like country artists, because it's like pickup trucks and going fishing and camo and guns and hunting. It's because a lot of country artists actually do that. So they're interested. And a lot of people that listen to country music actually do that because that's what they're interested in. Again, I hate to say it, it's like stereotypes are a thing because at some point in time, they're kind of a thing, right? I can say this, it's like, I'm an Italian American, but I don't wear like gold chains and suits and talk with a terrible New Jersey accent. But we all know, and I'm not a member of the mafia in any way, shape, or form, but think about that for a minute. What do you see? It's always like the Godfather, the gold chain. Hey, how you doing? Right? Those sort of things. Yeah, we sort of chuckle and laugh about it, but they kind of exist because they kind of did exist, right? And stereotypes kind of get that negative connotation, but when you're talking in branding and when you're talking in pitching products and artists, sometimes you have to play to those because they sort of lay there. You got to play to them in the right strategic way, in the positive light versus the negative, but but they're there because they're there. So when you start thinking about branding, that's sort of the lane that you need to think about, right? Start thinking about these sort of angles. Now, branding rolls right over into what we're going to go. I'm going to zoom up here real quick into the second part of this element, which is touring, right? All artists tour. So let me get down here to beyond. There's a lot of great reading in here. Let's get down here into like touring. I'm just going to kind of pause here, but all of you have been to concerts where it's, so-and-so band sponsored by X company. Well, what does X company get out of that? X company gets a lot of advertising in front of a lot of people that will potentially buy their products, right? That's the key. And it's also a way for the artist to supplement the costs of the tour. I mean, think about the Rolling Stones, the epitome of touring bands. It costs a lot of money, for them to be touring. It's just huge. Well, wouldn't it be nice if we could offset that cost? All of our operation costs could be offset by putting somebody's name on the tour, and they give us $100 million. And now all of our costs are basically taken care of and our ticket prices are now pure profit. Yeah. And Bud Light does it every time because Bud Light knows they will sell a lot of beer. They will sell a lot of beer at the concerts, and it just keeps Bud Light in the brand, in the conscious. So when people go to the store, like, yeah, I'm going to get a Bud Light because that's what they like. They like that drink. Other artists do different things, right? They have different, sponsors, what appeals to them. And a lot of your A-list blue chips are going to get on this, but even on a smaller thing, maybe you could get, if you're a band, you can get a sponsorship from like the local beer distributor that says, hey man, when I play, why don't you guys come out and, do some specials? Pay me $200 and a show, and I'll make sure that night there's specials going on every place I play. That continues your brand, continues your identity, right? You've seen, major corporations jump on things. It may not just be alcohol. It could be Walmart. It could be Target. It could be Ford, Chrysler, right? Again, it's getting their name associated with this artist. And in the case of tour support, It really is that. It really is all about, you know, the artist gaining that huge financial advantage to be able to offset the costs of their tour, which makes their ticket price and their ticket money profit, right? And if you're the promoter and it's going to cost you $30,000 to put on a show, and that's a small show, it's a really small show. If you could get somebody to say, hey, I'll give you $10,000 so you can say your show is sponsored by the local the local car lot or the local lawyer, that's a 30% reduction in cost on your event. You're now, if you don't sell as many tickets, you'll probably still profit, where before you might have been hedging a little bit. So again, tour support and those sort of branding kind of go hand in hand. When an artist sort of brands and they go on tour, they can say, hey, would you like to be part of this? Like, hey, Starbucks, Gwen Stefani's going out on tour. Do you want to be a sponsor? She's going to do large arenas. And we know all these large arenas probably have Starbucks inside of them, because that's how things are now with concessions in these large venues. But even like I said, on the smaller scale, even on the regional touring, or even on the small touring, small theater tours, companies will want to get in on that, because if they can get in early with an artist, they can ride that train for a very long time. So again, think about those sort of things. Now, in our modules this week, in the next 2 weeks, this is what this is all about. So again, you got to put on your marketing hat and think about the artist and how well, can this artist, be branded? What residual incomes can we bring in that we can associate with our artist that will just do two things: put money in the artist's pocket, but also build a foundation of a style that they are and that they will be for a long time, right? That keeps paying dividends and keeps paying dividends over and over and over and back and forth. And the same thing with touring. Rolling Stones have been touring with Budweiser for probably 30 plus years, because Budweiser's sitting there thinking, it's the Rolling Stones. They are the biggest rock band ever. We would be fools not to be part of this, right? Because we need to sell a lot of beer, right? So think about those things this week. And the question I ask is a few questions after, listening this. Pick an artist. And I think we're doing this in the assignment, but think about an artist that you can brand, or maybe, think about a way that you could take a small artist, your friend's band, and say, what are they about? Maybe we could do that as well. So again, really the extra assignment here is just kind of do a recap on what I've talked about. And I would just like to know your thoughts, or I didn't know that, or wow, that's kind of an interesting way to look at it. So again, it's all about, I hate to say it, it's all about the Benjamins. And when you're thinking about putting your marketing hat on, this is how you need to think. We're beyond the music here. People love the music, and that's great. And they've bought into it and they're streaming and listening to it every day. But what else can we get them to buy into? And what else can we associate this artist with that will have a positive impact on the artist, but also the company, but also affect you, the consumer, or your friends that are consumer? Because remember, right now, you're the man pulling the strings behind the curtain. You just want them to look out at the wizard, right? So make sure, that you put out a great show to be the wizard. See you guys soon. Get your assignments in. If you're late, if you're behind, or if you're anything that's like, hey, I need some help, it's better to jump on it now and keep me aware. Don't come the last couple of weeks, because that's kind of on you. Everybody's doing great. But just again, check on your stuff. And if you have any questions, you can email me anytime. If you have any questions, you can email Sarah anytime. You know where we're at. So I hope to hear from you soon, and everything's doing great. See ya.